So I would like to speak a bit more. I think we've been talking a bit more about banking, really. I think we'll come back a bit later on in terms of the banking side, but a bit more in public practice. Um, so I'd like to ask, really, how does the day or a day of a trainee look like? What do you do? What are the competencies that is required by SACA that one needs to meet? And think we can, ask a bit more questions a bit later on, but yeah, just a bit more on the training itself.
So I was a trainee 100 years ago. So I imagine this is how their day looks like now. So as a trainee, you come in into a firm, our firm for instance. When you join our firm, we'll take you through our induction. An induction is really to orientate you about our firm culture, how we do things, introduce you to different aspects of the firm, and give you tools on how to perform your job. So that's what we do. That induction takes about 2 weeks. You're away with other trainees from around the country. And after that, then we would take you to clients, right? Say, for instance, there is a client in energy or there is a client in manufacturing or a bank for that matter, then that's where you would spend your time. You'd have a team with you. So normally our teams are made up of as follows. So you'd have a first year, a second year, a third year, a manager, depending on how big the client is, a senior manager, as well as a director on the job. And then there are competencies that obviously SAICA expects you to meet, and those competencies are part of the framework. We call them competency framework, and then our training will be structured in such a way that you achieve those competencies in the 3 year cycle. Um, our trainees have fun, I think. So we expect them to be there still structured now from 8 to 5 at least. There are times where they work overtime, when we work weekends. But we try and have a bit of fun in our firm. So there's lots of functions that we have as well to recognize our employees, those who are actually doing very well. So on a yearly basis, we recognize those individuals, starting from a trainee level. And there are people who are superstars. Nico spoke about, he likes his job because he gets challenged. And that's that. And when you guys come in, you are the sharpest of them all because you are technically stronger than most of us there because you've been working with the standards and everything else on your daily basis. So we look forward to that. Yeah, we bring the experience and whatnot, but that's a contribution that we look forward to have with you. So that's a life of a trainee. And you work for 3 years. And then in the 3 years, then it will depend on your performance. And if you want to stay with the firm, then there'll be a selection process as to who you retain as a manager. It's quite competitive. That much I can tell you, right? So especially if you want to remain in the firm, and what's very important is that if you really want to remain and quite clear about, you start speaking about your intentions here, right? So that when that opportunity comes, you're first in mind, but also you must give me something to support it, right? If you are performing, Nico said, you must already at your third year be operating at a manager level. So if I, put you forward for a promotion, then it becomes easy. So yeah.
How do you transition from coming out from doing all these different standards to actually getting to a place? How relevant do you think to the past when you go to first starting training with us? Is it applicable to this way?
Oh yes.
So
Yes.
everything we do past next week to be, is it still applicable when you get to do training or something different coming from
Yeah. So Nico spoke earlier about reading a set of financial statements, right? Please do that because then you'll see the relevance of everything that you study. You start reading the accounting policy on PPE, and it'll say PPE is recognized at cost. Subsequently, it's at what? Revaluation module, and we depreciate our assets as follows. So that gives you context. And I remember when I was at the University of Pretoria, in level 2, I think it used to be in the library, it used to be for economic and management sciences students. There's an area actually where they have annual reports. So if you don't have to go far, Just look for that area, just grab one of them and actually read them. Actually see how the audit report actually looks like. So it brings things in perspective to everything that you're doing. It's very important. Every single thing you do.
Yes. And that's really
Oh,
good.
what is that one thing you wish someone told you before you started your training?
Before I started my training. So someone said, what is that to expect? Also, when I went into my training, I didn't know what to expect. I really didn't know. I was excited about it. It was a working opportunity, and now something towards becoming a CA. But one thing I wish someone had told me is that enjoy it. Eh? Like really do. Don't be too serious. Like just have fun. Things will work out. Do your part. And things will just work out. They really will. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Right? Yeah, it's not going to be easy all the time, but you keep on keeping. Yeah.
Any other questions?
So the first year said go and get the coffee and donuts. Or...
So there is that me, right? That the first day when they come in, they make us coffee, and we make them do photocopying and all of that. No, they normally offer without us asking. Yeah. They just they'll say, I'm going to get coffee, chillaxa. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
So I just want to ask though, when it comes to trainees, what are the, can I say, general issues, and we call them that you identify from people coming fresh out of varsity, going into training, things that you could have perhaps worked on while you were still in varsity, that could have perhaps helped you in your training? Are there any such kind of things that you identify in the training in trainees when they come in?
So in the nature of our job is that we interact with clients a lot and we sell time to our clients, right? So if I sell time to Nico, I have to convince Nico that whatever he's paying us, we are worthy of it, right? Number one, I need to know what I'm doing and be convincing about it, right? And I need to know my work so well, right? Number two, I have to be very confident. Glad you guys are quite confident. So that's very important. You have to be sure of yourself because you are selling. That's the nature of our job. That's what we do, right? And we have some trainees coming in, at least there are programs within the firm where we identify such areas. And that's where we say we'll make you culture fit as well, is that we identify that, there's an area where we can work with you and improve on. So those are some of the things of being professional, being on time. It's very, very important because it creates an impression as well, right? So professionalism is very important, not only in the context of also how you deliver your work. You never give anyone anything that you're not happy, right? We understand you're on a training program and we are here to train you, but can there be an effort? And actually, a few weeks ago, I was reviewing a file, and as I was reviewing this file, and there was some sloppy work. And this team, I've been working with them for some time, and the other files that I've worked with them on, and they've been of good quality. But this one, it was quite sloppy and all of that. And I spoke to the manager about it, and I said, whoever worked on this, did not show any dedication and whatnot. I'm actually very disappointed. Please had a chat with them and addressed it. And then the manager came to speak to me and apologized that actually I had to see that work before they did. And actually the person hated auditing and actually had left the pen. And I could tell in the quality of work already. You could. So take pride in what you do, right? And if you decided that this is what you're going to do and finish it in 3 years, at least when you do it right. So that's very important because that's how I'm going to remember this person, right? And you know what's going to happen? You're going to call me for a reference when Nico has to employ you. And what am I going to say? well, surely I'm not going to say because, especially if it's my name on it, right? Definitely going to say to Nika, well, I would not keep that person. One of the questions Nika would ask me is that if you had an opportunity to hire this person again, would you? And I'll say no. Do you see? Is that the impression you want to leave behind? So those are the things that, I wish, you could take more pride in your work. You could show more dedication. So those are the things.
There's a question too. I think that's in terms of we always it's like one of my friends were asking which search or go to where it is came out of your ideas. You say even if one thing of name, but you can go to your big top first, but you just find a small, nice content firm, which then you put to competent and make you to rotating all kinds of things and making sales program make you to your full time management coach just take one way you just have to
Gonna start by saying, Nico here is a CFO of Citibank. Where did he go? To a small bank, right? Exhibit A. Right? So you have that as well. However, we are a medium firm, we are growing. I want all of you to join us. And it's the best friend to come with. It's I was like, well, you'll get great experience. You'll get to work with people with mind like mine. I'll get challenged by you guys, and yeah, I think can't wait for it.
That's a good mix
Yeah.
because one of the downsides of being a big firm is I can't remember 'cause the same team that does the AXA audit is on City as well. They spend a good 6-7 months in the same fund. So that's the one downside is you see 1, 2, 3 clients because the thing is how it works is you're on a client and the more you become familiar, they keep you on that engagement. I think like S&G, these guys, you get a rounded. The other thing I would say is, I have to say, so after I did my articles with Morris Rowland, I spent a year with KPMG in Johannesburg and the IFRS advisory bit. And the one thing that I got there that you don't necessarily get in a small firm, not these guys, are softer skills, presentation. It's much more professional. But again, I got that. But if I didn't get that, then I don't know where I would have ended up. But that's the one good thing about a structured professional firm like these guys. It's a network of firms. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
It's basically a follow-up question. With it's very hard to decide where you want to go because like you go to a bank, they'll tell you that's where you should do your articles because and they give you various reasons and it sounds really convincing. And then you go to an audit firm and they give you literally the same thing and say that an audit firm is the best to put yourself. So like how do you really know where it's actually go? Because they will you will be sold wherever you go. You'll go to PwC, this is the future. You go to Nedbank like no, but this is
It sounds like you have a good problem. Like you have options.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I would just repeat what I said earlier. I just think in public practice you get that rounded experience. If you really know today, I want to do banking, but I would even go as far as you don't know what banking is because it's so big. You'll probably do internal audit in banking, which is again now you're starting to specialize. Internal audit is a specialist, and you may even struggle to move out of internal audit within a bank into one of the businesses you want because they've now kind of pigeonholed you. You are their enemy. If you're internal audit in the bank, you don't have friends. Yeah. But again, it depends. If they offer you a massive nice bursary that you don't have elsewhere, then that's fine. It's not, But if you had the choice, my recommendation would be public practice.
I agree with Nico. And why specialize so early in your career when you think you know but you really don't know, right? So don't limit yourself. The more you're going to go into a specialized role, it's difficult to do anything else. As an auditor, you can do literally, it's a suit. You can do everything. Yeah, you can work it anywhere.
Sorry, after articles, let's assume you want to go to London. And now I read your CV. 3 years training with NetBank, they don't have a clue with NetBank because in their world, NetBank is very small. Versus 3 years with PwC, Deloitte, or
SNG grant.
Grant Thornton. Grant down. It's a name that they'll recognize.
And then, sorry, from us, if let's say now there's this long-term goal wanting to become an entrepreneur, so which moves would you suggest to a young person should take if they think they want to go banking, to want to go to big firms, or whatever, so if that person can be full competent on the entrepreneur?
So I'll tell you a story. So we recruit at our firm. So there'll be a number of people who come to our firm for different reasons, right? And you guys know the Auditor General. They audit public sector, right? So we'd get a number of managers from the Auditor General coming to join our firm. And one thing most of them when they enjoy about our firm is that we have to win business. Therefore, you get to work on a tender document and preparing one. To see how rounded as an accountant you must be. You thought as a manager, I'm just going to be doing debits and credits. Now you have a tender to prepare and work on it. And that's actually entrepreneurial skills. And after that, you have to go to a client and present it and say, give us business. Right? So those are the skills that you also learn. You learn how to sell. So yeah, if you want to go into an entrepreneurial role, is that at a smaller firm, you get exposed earlier. Sometimes you get our trainees, if they are star performers, to get exposed and assisting us in putting a tender together. If it's a bigger, larger firm, but you find is that there are processes and structures already there, and probably an office dedicated to that, so you may not see all of it.
Can I add to that? You're spot on. I have a friend who's doing really well. He's at PwC in advisory, but in supply chain, so nothing in finance. And so I was lucky when I moved back to South Africa in 2016. A Big Four firm offered me a partnership to head up their IFRS advisory bit. And the one thing that made me decide against it was that entrepreneurial bit, which I realized that I have to come in, have a vision, build a team, sell that vision, go sell it to clients, and that's entrepreneurship. But I didn't want that. I love the corporate bit and add my bit to the value chain of banking. But the point I'm trying to make is very entrepreneurial. And people think about entrepreneurs just the guy thinking up the next fintech or whatever. It's so much broader. And I want to go even further to a lot of guys that I've mentored over the years in their careers. And I see my career as a business. I manage myself as a business. Every day when I go into the office, when I do a task, I'm gaining knowledge. If I'm not, and the way I test that is if I sit in an interview tomorrow, will I be able to explain what I did in my current role, where I added value, my own personal deal sheet? That's me. Because ultimately, we enjoy work, but ultimately, you want to have earnings potential, like an entrepreneur, right? So everything I'm doing now and building my career is adding to my value, and I manage myself as my own business, and you should. So there's an entrepreneurship element to that as well. The more fatherly advice I want to give you is, when we're young, we all have great ambitions and ideas. I don't want to, how can I say, bless that little fire. But I have to say, sometimes you have to walk before you can run. And again, doing CA, learning about business, you don't know what you don't know. And I'm such a better position now to go and do a business if I want to versus 10, 15 years ago, because everything I've learned. Because it's one thing to have an idea. It's a very different story if that idea can be a profitable business. Okay. Just look at the Shark Tank or what's a BBC program. There's so many great ideas out there, but few of them is a successful business. And the more knowledge you gain, the better you are at that. The confidence you have to take that plunge. But finish your CA first. I have to say, these guys ask a lot of questions about articles and stuff. Yeah. For now, focus on getting the CA. The world is your oyster. That's the point of the CA. Unless you're always you have to just get that behind you. Man, you can do everything. Anything you want to put your heart on, you can do.
I would just like to ask one last question in terms of in public practice. So, from what I've heard, and to be corrected, most of the big four, when you walk in, you have to choose whether you're going to go into general or you're going to go into financial services. And I think, personally, I'm still very conflicted about it. And so, does one get the opportunity to kind of get an exposure and a bit of both? Or the minute you go into financial services, do you stay there? Or if you go into general, do you stay there?
So I'll speak in general with the reference that I have. In bigger firms, obviously, the sectors would be divided into various forms. So you'd have energy and mining, financial services, manufacturing, automotive. Right? So it'll be different sectors, entertainment, and all of that. Right? And our firm is a little bit different. Right? So we have two areas right now: it's financial services and it's general. In general, for us, you find energy, you'd find mining, you'd find automotive, you'd find transport, so everything is there. Um, because of the nature of an audit firm, if I have a team that's working on financial services, idea is that would like you to remain in that because you're gaining knowledge and experience in that field for at least 3 years of articles. If in general assurance, same thing as well, right? Would that limit you into saying if I'm in general assurance, I've never worked for a bank? No. Can work anywhere. Really, you can. Same if you're in financial services. Although most likely is that if you're in financial services, you're more to be inclined to go into financial services sector. But what I found is that the guys who are more in general assurance can go literally anywhere. If that's the question.
Yes. Um, how?
I have a different spin on that. No, an additional spin.
Okay.
Um, there's only 4 or 5 banks in South Africa, and there's a lot more corporates. So if you want to create a career in one of those and become CFO, you probably stand a better chance to go general versus banking. That's just a thought. And coming from me that loves banking, but you gotta also to manage yourself as a business.
So many CFOs.
Yeah, exactly.
So one of the things that I think coming from varsity and you don't have a car, and then you get to now have to go and order clients. So how does that, in a way, not having a car, limit you as to which clients you're being put on, or does the company in some way make provision for one to be able to use a company car or whatsoever to be able to get exposure to a client that you really would like to have exposure to?
So I mean, those are real life situations that we're dealing with, particularly at our firm as well. There's a number of candidates that come through and don't have cars, right? So what we are mindful of is that you'll be planned at any other client, right? If you think about it, taxis would get most to places where the clients are. Either be the client somewhere in Hammanskraal or in Sandton, there would be a form of public transport that gets them. But our issue then becomes if we have to work overtime. If you have to work overtime at our firm is that would ordinarily put you in an Uber instead of you being in a public transport because that would not be safe. But you would have to communicate with the manager on the job. Some of the assumption is that people are there and they don't communicate, right? And then we all leaving at 9 o'clock. We don't know that you're using public transport. Everyone off they go, right? The next day we hear tomorrow you lost your laptop. How? Or use public transport. Oh, that late, but you didn't communicate. So it's very important to communicate, right? But the idea is not having a car should not be an excuse for you to perform, right? So it's I don't mind to stay until late, but how am I going to get home, right? And then the manager on the job normally makes a call and will organize you. But communications, let's not assume.